Call the roll.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Here.
Mr. Putoff.
Here.
Mr. Sextro.
Here.
Mr. Burke. Ms. McDaniel.
Here.
Mr. Albrecht.
Here.
I don't believe that Mr. Burke can vote. Am I correct?
Correct. Neither one of us can.
That's good. That's good. First, we will have a proclamation for Captain Roa. Is he here?
Hi.
Okay, there he is. Step up, please. Captain is retiring after a number of years at the fire department, and we wish him well. We have this certificate of appreciation for him. It's in appreciation of Captain Michael Roa for his 29 years of service in the Evendale Fire Department. As Michael J. Roa, hired on September 14th, 1992, has served the village of Evendale in the capacity of firefighter, paramedic, lieutenant, and captain, and is retiring from the Evendale Department on February 4th, 2022. And whereas Captain Roa's tour of duty constitutes 29 years and 5 months of loyal and dedicated service to the village, to the Evendale Fire Department. And whereas Michael J. Roa, in his career, in addition to his supervisory roles, is a certified fire instructor, fire safety inspector, leader of the village of Evendale Fire Department for 14 years, and serving the village of Evendale and the neighboring communities, and served as Department Fire Training, Communications, and Technology Officer for those years as an officer. And whereas he was awarded the Firefighter of the Year award twice, first in 1995, second in 2006. Whereas he has served as the department's health and safety officer, where he worked to improve the overall fitness level of each member and was instrumental in upgrades to the department's workout facilities. He's led by example, competing in the firefighter combat challenge for numerous years, qualifying for the world finals several times. And whereas he has served the department as a training officer, ensuring that the members have the skills to competently and safely conduct the job while increasing hands-on training, while encouraging more engagement from members. And whereas this honor, with his wife Mary Beth and his 2 sons, and whereas it is appropriate at this time to recognize Captain Michael J. Roa for his many years of time, care, devotion, while employed at the village of Evendale Fire Department, and for his service to the village of Evendale. I now, for Richard A. Kleiner, as mayor of the village of Evendale, who on behalf of the village council, fellow employees, residents, and business establishments of the village, offer sincere thanks, appreciation, and best wishes to Michael J. Roa on his retirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drinking good health.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we will have the ordinances.
Nope. Yes.
First ordinance is ordinance 22-01, and I ask permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ordinance promoting firefighter paramedic David D. Stark to lieutenant paramedic of the Evendale Fire Department and declaring it as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-01 adopted as an emergency. All right, let's do them both at the same time. Next is ordinance 22-02, and I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Ordinance promoting Lieutenant Paramedic Robert J. Lehman to Captain Paramedic of the Evendale Fire Department and declaring it as an emergency. I need a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
And I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-02 adopted as an emergency. We will now proceed to the swearing in of the two officers, and Mr. Stark will come first. If you raise your right hand, please. I, David Stark, do solemnly swear that I will support and obey the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Ohio,
I, David Stark, do solemnly swear I will support and obey the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Ohio,
and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the village of Evendale, Ohio,
and that I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the charter of the ordinances of the village of Evendale, Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of fire lieutenant paramedic to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of fire lieutenant paramedic to the best of my abilities. Thanks, sir. for the opportunity, and especially the safety committee and Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone step up, please? Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Robert J. Lehman,
I, Robert J. Lehman,
do solemnly swear that I will support and obey the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Ohio,
do solemnly swear that I will support and obey the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Ohio,
and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the village of Evendale, Ohio,
and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the charter and the ordinances of the village of Evendale,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of fire captain paramedic to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of fire captain paramedic to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Got it?
Yep. Thanks. No.
No?
Yes, yeah, yep.
Dave, why don't you come up here and get a picture as well? Dave.
Steve's in. That was good, Steve. There you go. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody else. There you go.
Clear now.
Nobody wants to stay and hear the rest of council?
Mayor, I propose we start doing this at the end of council.
Please?
We do this at the end of council from now on.
No.
So we'll just don't wait.
All right, let's have committee reports then, and we'll have finance first.
Mayor, revenues ended up a little bit under budget last year. Final numbers were $14,237,000, about $163,000 less than what we had budgeted. However, revenues did exceed expenditures by about $637,000. This is a real testament to the department heads, everybody recognizing the situation and tightening their belts and doing what was necessary to help us weather the economic downturn that everybody is really facing. So kudos, especially to the department heads for understanding the situation and working to do what they could to help address that.
I think our returns for November and December kind of give us a little glimmer of hope for the future. Kind of give us a little.
Little tick up, but
Yes.
we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
We did also, we still have over $20 million in reserves. So we have well over a year's worth of operating expenditures in reserves. So we're still in pretty good shape. Again, staying under budget or working towards that, and with reserves, we're in good shape. The Gorman Farm, the farm remains open to the public, even as COVID cases increase. Also, the Soil and Stars Education Center, for those who aren't aware, that is the old UAW building out in front of the farm and just to the right of the Boy Scouts. That construction is scheduled to be done by the end of this month, and that will offer some meeting rooms, a lot of meeting rooms for the collaboration of those two enterprises down at Soil and Stars. There's also, they received a grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for about $293,000 for watershed restoration. We're working through how to best utilize that. We've met in committee, but nothing has finalized on exactly when and how that will all take place. Service, Shred Day, I know everybody looks forward to getting rid of a lot of the excess garbage around the house and everything. Shred Day this year is May 7th, 8 to 1. So mark it down. Don't take any vacation during that period. So cleaning out your garage and basement.
I saw a note on Next Door today, said, how do I get rid of a big TV set? And then it said, blue ash. Can't help them.
You have to be an Evendale resident. Can't come down for blue ash.
We check your license plate.
The Interstate 75, the construction, 4 years of painstaking traffic congestion, that has now been completed. They've worked through the punch list, and that is completed. Also, a little shorter term, but just as frustrating, the Duke Pipeline that ran down the center of Glendale, Milford. That project is now completed, including the completion of the regrading of the ball fields and everything that they had to tear up. So if you haven't noticed, we got the state to buy us a new Glendale Milford Road. So that was at least one positive that came out of that. The shelter house has been completed, the painting of the shelter house. For those people who drive the campus, the Founders Wall Pavilion, the letters have been coming off, so they've pulled off a lot of the stone as well as the lettering, and the contractor, as soon as the weather permits, will be putting both the stone facade as well as the lettering back up on that wall. And that's it for service. Recreation, the spring sports signups are starting. So if anybody's going to be playing soccer, softball, baseball, please see the rec center. And also, I found this a little interesting. 40 families came to the rec center to get their pictures with Santa, but then we ended up with 55 letters to Santa. So I guess there were many families that were not quite ready to come down and see Santa, but they didn't want to miss out. So
They've been the older group.
So we have 55 letters to Santa. All letters to Santa. Amazingly, Santa did respond to each and every one of those kids. So.
I'm glad I wasn't Santa.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions, comments from members of council? By the way, the reason that our sixth council person is not here tonight, he's been exposed. He's here in spirit and by internet. He's been exposed to COVID and is quarantining. So, in the good interest of all of us, he's staying at home. But he's here in spirit. Okay, fire and police.
Okay. Well, since we've already mentioned COVID, let's start with, there are going to be some vaccination clinics here at the rec center on January 24th, February 14th, and March 14th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the rec center. That's for shots if you haven't had them, booster if you had it, for all ages.
What time of it was that again?
10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
To 3 p.m.
Yes. I'm not going to go through the numbers. Suffice to say, Omicron variant is overtaking the nation, and Ohio is no exception, nor is Hamilton County. On the hiring process, well, obviously, if we're promoting people, we have to replace them. So for, as of last week, we had 17 applicants who needed to go through the physical ability check. We'll be scheduling interviews. Excuse me. We have scheduled interviews for March 14th for fire. I'm hesitating here because we have a similar situation in the police department, and we're trying to get all the schedules straightened out. So hiring is going to be busy as well. The department has recognized the need for another Lucas chest compression device, so it's going to be purchased. And you may or may not be aware that a fireworks law went into effect in Ohio, that goes into effect, was passed, but goes into effect in June. Dayton has already passed an ordinance to ban that. We're going to discuss it in more detail at our next committee meeting or meetings. So just wanted to make those of you who weren't on the committee aware of that. Okay. In the police department, there's going to be more to come on hiring for that. We do have one of our officers retiring in February in the police department. So there will be 3 vacancies this year because the police chief and the assistant chief will also be retiring before the year is out. Body cameras, which we have had for a while, we are going to have to replace them, but we have them covered as far as the budget is concerned. Moving on to cultural arts. December events were sold out. That was great news. Now we've had to postpone some events and cancel some due to COVID, so I'm going to refer you to the Cultural Arts website to find out which is which. However, I do want to mention that that championship season that's presented by the Alibi players at Bell Tower Arts Pavilion, there are still performances scheduled for the 14th and 15th at 8 p.m. and the 16th at 3 p.m. and tickets are $20. As far as the Hare and the Tortoise, that's at the Bell Tower Arts Pavilion, was scheduled for January, has now been moved to February 6th. Yes, okay. And those tickets are free. Face coverings will be required when you attend that event. And then as far as building, planning, and zoning is concerned, I think we had an ordinance addressing one area. We're going to postpone discussion on the planning and zoning manager to our special council meeting next week. And that's our report.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Okay.
I'll just throw one thing out there for the Griffin Family Nature Preserve. We are going to have a meeting coming up on January 24th. What time was that, Beth? 6:30?
6:30.
At 6:30. And we're going to be discussing our plans for the new year.
Okay. So the committee is still alive and well.
Working at it.
I have a few things. We were awarded $225,000 by the state of Ohio for the elevator at the Cultural Arts Center. That means we have that $225,000. We have $100,000 pending, which is, I hope, going to be reappropriated. Senator Blessing's working on that. And we have a $100,000 grant from a private foundation. So that comes up to about $425,000. We're sneaking up on it. We're sneaking up on it. So maybe sometime in the future we'll have it's $1 million project, so it's going to take some more investment by us. And I don't think we can wait for 2 more years to get another $200,000 of that from the state. I think we have to do some other things to look for money. Just to remind you that the special council meeting is on the 18th here at 7 o'clock. We also received an award from Hamilton County of $290,400 for the demolition of the Aberdeen Trucking Company over on Glendale Milford Road. And that's for 80% of the cost, and we'll have to provide 20% of the cost of that thing. But our engineer is going to advertise for bids to demolish those buildings as quickly as possible. And I also want to note that we need another member on the BCA, so any of our residents who are interested should please give me a call or drop me a note at the mayor's office. And that's what I have. I note also that we neglected to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. So if I could have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
So the minutes are approved. Now we have ordinance 22-03, and I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Putoff?
Yes.
McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ordinance approving the transfer of general funds to various other funds and declaring it as an emergency. I need a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes. Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 20-03 adopted as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 22-04, and I'd like a motion to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the payments of amounts due upon certain contracts requiring certification of availability of funds and declaring it as an emergency. This is our then and now. I need a motion to suspend the second and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Now I'd like a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-04 adopted as an emergency. Next, we have ordinance 2205, and I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
An ordinance amending section 258.59, parentheses D, regulating the maximum of accumulation of compensatory time for sworn fire department personnel and declaring it as an emergency. Anybody need an explanation of this?
I do have one little question about the highlighted part. I'm just curious why it's all highlighted.
Okay, Chief Seer?
Those are the changes. Okay, okay. I didn't know if something else was going to be changed or, okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other? Thank you, Chief. Now I need a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
I'd like a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
I'd like a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
I now declare ordinance 22-05 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 2206, and I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
second,
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners to receive HC Community Revitalization Grant funds for site preparation and demolition of structures on village-owned land at 1400 Glendale Milford Road and declaring it as an emergency. This is the authorization to receive the $290,000. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinances?
so move,
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance, or the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
second,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-6 adopted as an emergency. Ordinance 22-07, I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ordinance making appointments to the Village of Evendale Community Improvement Corporation and declaring it as an emergency. This is reappointing Dr. McKinnon and
that's your Hardwood and Keekly,
Mr. Keekly.
and,
Harwood and Keekly.
Harwood and Keekly.
and I have
These
another
two.
question. It also listed Mr. Albrecht and myself, but not Steve Burke, who is on the committee.
Gee, Steve Burke is not on the committee.
Oh, he is not,
He is a visitor to the
a
committee.
visitor, okay,
Yes, yes.
thank you.
And he knows that. All right. Where was I? Oh, motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
second,
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
so moved,
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-07 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 22-08, and I'd like to read it by title only.
So moved.
second,
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
yes,
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting the 2021 S-8 supplement to the Evendale Village Code of Ordinances, including ordinances adopted through September 14th, 2021, and state legislation adopted through June 8th, 2021, and declaring it as an emergency. Anyone need an?
I don't have that in my packet.
You don't have
yeah, that ordinance wasn't,
it wasn't in the packet.
it wasn't.
Did you refresh your OneDrive? Because I stuck it on there. I stuck it in there.
No.
No, I'm looking at mine off my email,
Okay, okay.
because my OneDrive
Yes.
says that there's
It's
nothing.
on your OneDrive, the new
on the
one is on your
OneDrive.
OneDrive.
It's on the OneDrive.
Do you want to see mine?
No, I mean, I want to see something. I don't want to just vote on something I haven't looked at. But, I mean, might take me more than
I don't blame you.
I can't imagine anyone's like,
So we codify the, well, Tim, you can explain
periodically, we have to add to the codified ordinances, those ordinances that have been adopted since it was last published.
Gotcha.
And that's what this does. And shortly after this ordinance is adopted and the new inserts are printed, copies will be available to be inserted in current 3-ring binders.
Gotcha.
That people have.
And also like online, the,
They're already
whatever
updated
that is,
online.
American Legal Publishing, blah, 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 yeah.
And American Legal, which is a Cincinnati-based company, does this for communities all over the country.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, can I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 22-08 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 22-10, and I'd like to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the Arrow Hub Boulevard Phase 2 Duck Bank project and declaring it as an emergency. Mr. Jeffrey, do you want to just explain a little bit about this too, so everybody else is enlightened? They gotta change the batteries every time. There must be a better one. All this technology, there's got to be a better way.
Go. All right, for any development, new development, for the utilities to be run, the developer, in this case is the village, we have to run the conduit system that the primary services will be fed from. So this will basically bring the primary electric and telecommunication services, namely Cincinnati Bell and Time Warner. That'll be by this system, we will basically be able to feed the lots to be developed. So we put this out for bid and hope to get started on this right away, as Kinetic Vision is going to need permanent power and gas services as rapidly as possible. So that is.
I believe Ford development.
For development, it was a low bidder. We had 4 bids. I'm familiar with 3 of them. One of them was from actually Michigan, who bid it. The numbers was very close to our estimate, so I'm pretty comfortable with Ford
And
Development
they're a
proceeding.
reputable company. A reputable company. I'm familiar with them too.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, may I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Now, I'd like a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Now, a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes?
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now declare ordinance 22-10 adopted as an emergency. Is there any other business to come before council tonight? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Not allowed to vote, but I say yes.
He went to
See
sleep.
if you're paying attention.
He went to sleep.
You wanted to see if you were awake, Steve. Motion adjourned.